Hey guys, I was going to go over today a real common problem on these BX series tractors. So this is the inner tie rod, boot, dust cover, whatever you want to call it. The OEM boots that come from Kubota are rubber material. They're pretty poor quality. These kits that I sell on eBay are polyurethane, so they're going to last a lot longer. These are Billow style that'll flex in and out as your steering tracks in and out, so that'll help reduce the wear on the boot. It'll last a lot longer. I'll take you over to the other side here. I already did this side. I'll show you what the new boot looks like. So you can see when you track the steering in and out, the boot's gonna flex and move. It's gonna prevent it from cracking. It's a better material. So first thing you're gonna want to do to replace this is you're gonna want to turn your steering towards the direction of the one you're going to be working on. Give yourself a little more room. You're going to start your tractor up. You put your bucket down at an angle like I have it here. That helps increase the lifting power to help get it up off the ground. And then we're going to put a couple jack stands underneath the front axle to support it while we're working on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, so I've got impact tools here. If you don't have impact tools, you can easily do this without it, but since I have them, I'm going to use them. Safety first, put your safety glasses on, put your earplugs in. You're going to need a 19 millimeter to take the lugs off. I suppose this could be done without taking the tire off, but it's just going to make it a little easier, help you guys be able to see it better too. So, give you more access. Alright, something I already did before we started was take the little pin out here from the castle nut. Just use a pair of needle nose pliers, come in and get the edge of it like this. And then you can usually tap on it with a hammer, pull it out. Just looking to save a little time here for the video. Sometimes a pair of dikes works good too. You can grab on those pins and twist them back and pull them out. To get this castle nut off, it's not torqued very much. I think it's 20 to 35 foot-pounds. So you're going to need a 17 millimeter socket. And you're going to take this off. In my case, mine was already pretty loose and was ready to pop out of there. If yours is not, what I've found works really well, one of my mentors and working on cars and trucks, what he showed me was if you take a heavy hammer and you back up on one side of your joint here where the tie rod goes into, and you hit it, you freeze the joint like that a few times. And then you can, sometimes you gotta just be careful you don't screw the threads up on the bottom of the tie rod, but you can tap on it from underneath. So, in this case mine was already loose, so probably wasn't torqued enough. But some people worry about deforming this when you hit it with a hammer, as long as you don't get too crazy with it and carried away. I've never had a problem doing that. The other good part about doing that versus using a pickle fork, when you use a pickle fork, it comes in here and you tend to screw the boot up on the tie rod end. So this boot's actually not in bad shape, so use a pickle fork, you're gonna, most of the time you're gonna ruin the boot. So, alright, so we got that off. Next step we're gonna have to do is loosen this jam nut on the tie rod end. So I'm gonna grab a 3/4 inch wrench. I think this one is 7/8 on the tie rod. I don't have a open-ended wrench that big, so I'm just gonna use a big crescent here. So you're gonna loosen this nut up, jam nut. And what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna count the number of turns that you take the tie rod end off, so how many times it takes to spin it off. So you can take your nut, kind of hold it up snug to there, and then after you back off the tie rod end, you can kind of mark it with a Sharpie, just as another way to make sure you get it back in the right spot. So because we're going to have to take that jam nut off to get the boot off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to take the jam nut off. Alright, in the process of doing this, you can see this one's actually even completely failed now. I didn't do that on purpose or anything, it's just, you can just see how bad this rubber is. So the next step in the process is going to be to get this boot off of here. There's 2 metal retainers on this. So since this boot is already ripped and broken, I'm just going to pull it right off, and that'll just, whole thing will slide right off. So this is, there's a little metal retainer here. With my kit that I provide, you could either reuse the metal retaining clip, or I provide 4 high quality zip ties. These are UV resistant. These are made in the USA. They've got a metal keeper, so they are really good tie wraps. They fit perfectly into the grooves of the new boots, so it makes things quick and easy. That's what I'm going to use when I put this back together. So we still got to get this other clip off here as well. Usually a screwdriver will work fine here. You're just going to have to kind of squeeze underneath and be able to pry this metal clip off of here. You can get underneath the corner of it and kind of push it off. So you can see this is what holds the upper part on. Again, if you want to reuse the steel, more power to you. If not, you can just use the zip ties that I provide, make it a lot easier. So this tie rod looks pretty clean. If yours was dirty and dry, you would want to probably shoot some brake cleaner on there and clean it off. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to grease it up and put the new boot on and put it back together. So mine looks pretty clean. Still have some grease left in there. Looks like I caught it right in time. So next step, grab your grease gun. You got a jar of grease, that'd probably work better, but I'm just gonna use my grease gun and squirt some on here. Alright. And then we're gonna slide the new boot up on there. Spin it as we go along and force it up on there. Probably a good idea to have a rag ready. Zip ties on. Alright, so the next step, we're just going to clean off the excess grease here. Make sure that tie rod and boot here stays up in the groove. Once you put the grease on there, it might kind of tend to want to pop off a little bit. But get your zip tie ready. Or if you were using your metal ring, now you'd slip that over. I'm going to use the zip ties on here. So you just want to make sure you got it all the way up. These zip ties, they don't really click like a normal zip tie. So, but it's because there's a metal keeper on here, and really they're infinitely adjustable. So, all right, things are kind of greasy, so you're might have a hard time gripping these zip ties. So, just get yourself 2 pairs of needle nose, grip onto the zip tie with one, just hold the other end of the zip tie with the other, and you can really make that nice and tight. And that's not going to go anywhere now. So. That's really good and tight. Then you can trim off the excess or dikes, just clip it off, and you're all set. Just grab your other zip tie, and you're going to go down on the smaller diameter. And you're going to do the same thing. Just going to grab hold of the zip tie and use your other one to push it on up in. Pull it tight. Alright, nice and tight. And you're just going to clip this off. Make sure you don't clip the boot. Wipe off any excess grease you got going on. And there you go. So now we're just going to follow the same steps we did to take it apart. We're just going to put everything back together. So first thing we need to do is put the jam nut back on. So if you made a little Sharpie mark on your inner tie rod end, you can bring the nut up to that point. probably sufficient enough just to count the number of turns. So we're going to take it on here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Come back. I'm just going to snug up that jam nut for a minute until I get this back into the joint here. You're going to take your castle nut and you're going to slip that back on, and you're going to take it to 30 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench here, 3/8 torque wrench for this one. You're going to go 17 millimeters. Take your cotter pin. My kit's going to include a new cotter pin as well. So you go ahead and, just for purposes of the video, I'm going to reuse the one I got right here, but my kit will include a new cotter pin. So take your cotter pin, line it up, and just tap it through. And then just peel it back here with your needle nose pliers. Alright, and all it's left to do is just put the tire back on. Alright, so you're just going to follow the reverse steps. You're just going to put your wheel back on here. You need your 19 millimeter, and it's 120 foot-pounds, a little more than what you might think on a small rim like this. But there's only 4 bolts, so I'm just going to zip these up with the impact, and then finish it off the torque wrench. So. And I usually go around, circle, make sure I didn't miss any. That's it. That's all she wrote. So you can just take a look real quick here one more time. I'll show you the finished product. You can see the boot articulates. It's a billow boot instead of a solid rubber boot. It's a heck of a lot better design than these rubber ones. It's polyurethane boot, so it's going to last a lot longer. Just take a look underneath your car. Take a look at your inner tie rod end on your steering and your rack and pinion. It's a billow boot, so you're going to see it's not a solid boot like this. So it's not a good design. It's going to fail. It's going to cause you problems. So it's a good project to take care of. If you notice that your boot's going bad, you're going to want to take care of it. Avoid a costly repair down the road. So appreciate you watching our video. If it helped you, I ask you to like us, and if you need to do this job, I appreciate if you check out our eBay store and consider buying the boots from us. Thanks a lot.